and we are live on the interwebs, as we old people like to call them.
Creativity starts with what if.
What was that? I'm fascinated. I want to know. And then you got the cup. You gotta show them the cup. I know we're recording and nobody's really here yet.
Right. Yeah, and fuckboy tears, they taste marvelous.
The pain, the agony, the stress. Hey, Miss JUK, would you acknowledge that we are online for me so that we know we are talking to the people? Let me know that you can hear us and respond in the chat. I can see it in my little control window on Restream. There's Miss Houseshoes in the background walking by like, what is this guy doing right now? All right, excellent. I can't see us on Instagram, but I told people where we're gonna be. I told them we were on Twitch, so I don't know what to tell them.
Yo,
I mean?
what's the button I hit on Twitch? Like if I'm watching you, I can just hit something and it'll host automatically on my page.
Miss JUK knows that. Oh, here I see. See this. There's a button. And what I normally do is when I want to do that, if I know exactly what you're talking about here, stand by. If you want to see somebody and forward somebody on the screen, there's like a down arrow, a house and a square. Do you know what I'm talking about? I'm going to go to Twitch so I can describe it to you. So anybody that happens to be listening that wants to know how to host this while we're having this conversation, you open up your Twitch app. You go to whatever channel you want to watch. In this case, I guess that's my channel, Jason Staten, right? And you pop open the window, and you will see me and Mr. Shoes. All right, we're there. And then there's an up arrow with a square. There's a square with like an arrow that shoots up in the air.
Got it.
And
share host channel, bang bang.
Yeah. Now, the problem is you got to turn the window, turn the audio down.
Yep.
Bang
bang.
And bang bang. You're in. You're in there. In a weird way, like I heard that Twitch is changing their whole game up, which is interesting.
I don't know what's happening. I know that I've been on Twitch for 2 years and I've never gotten one copyright strike. And I think it might just be a little cocksucker, like a snitch or something. Because I got
could
them.
be.
But I've gotten like mad, but I haven't gotten any strikes, but I gotten mad like we found copyrighted material in your VODs. We're taking your archive ability away.
They did that to me, and then I waited a week and I added it back to myself. If that makes any sense. Like I literally just, like I deleted it and that was it. Like once I deleted it, once I fixed that, it starts archiving again. And honestly, with this, like I don't use Twitch for the archive for this. I use YouTube. Yeah, because YouTube doesn't bother you as long as it's not music content. The minute you post some music content, then you and YouTube are, you got a problem.
Yeah, we're at odds.
Yeah, you're at odds. You're having a lot of problems. So for my archives, I trust YouTube, and I tend to leave it up on Facebook.
Okay.
For whatever length of time that that I want to, and I share it to you and everybody else from there. I don't really rely on the whole Twitch system for my archives because it has been traditionally unreliable and a little sketchy. And I'm not mad on them, but I, like we said before, I'm not really tripping off of how many people I can get to sign up, and can I get people to check out my my stuff and follow me on a regular basis. I kind of just leave it alone. You know what I mean?
Just do what you're doing. You know what I mean? Ain't no pressure, man.
I'm just hoping people, I'm hoping people ultimately will follow. I'm hoping that everything that we talk about is beneficial. But if they're not, if people aren't enjoying it, you know what I'm saying, or everybody doesn't share it, that that's okay.
Everything's not for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and you're just trying to provide a service, and at the end of the day, either motherfuckers are gonna tap in and learn something, or they're gonna not tap in and be the same stupid motherfuckers they were before they didn't tap in.
Yeah, that's unfortunately true. So speaking of that, so this morning, as we talk about curation, you pay attention to everything. You pay attention to art, you pay attention to music, you pay attention to sports, you pay attention to politics. I got up this morning at 10 o'clock with Heidi, and we went to uh, which is kind of, I don't know if it's related and it's the same people, but we went to the Picasso immersive event, which is similar to the Van Gogh immersive event, but to me it seemed smaller. They were doing a lot of dope stuff that I hadn't seen before. Of course, there was a lot of projection.
Right.
You walk in, once you walk past a room that has smaller prints of his pictures with actual explanations and and has little bylines. We went and we saw that, and you walk in, and then there's several what look like something the size of a large chalkboard, and it seems it has a pulled fabric that's super taut. It looks like a screen, like your screen door,
Yeah.
and there was one behind the other, and they were projecting onto that, and it was completely transparent unless something was projected on it. But when it projected on it, it was almost like it was projecting on a solid surface, and they
Right.
had all this black and white imagery. They had actual footage of him when he painted, and they projected that on these surfaces, and they were stacked one behind each other. So that in itself
The
was
depth.
beautiful.
It was the depth of frame was crazy.
It was crazy because you just take a picture of him, you're like, oh wow, they've got these placards on the side that tell you all these things about Picasso, and then you're actually seeing him paint. You're actually seeing images of him when he was younger, because the dude's life spanned from the 1800s all the way to the 1950s. And between, I guess, World War II's end and the 1950s, late 1950s, there's footage of him like painting. There's footage of him walking around and exploring things. And then I actually started taking down quotes of things that he said, and I bought a couple postcards, and I'm just going to take a label maker and just put some of the quotes on the actual postcards, because anybody that's had that type of life that's that broad and has existed that long is amazing. Just that he survived, because dude, you used to smoke squares. I don't know if you still smoke squares, but this dude was smoking squares, and
Yeah.
every image I saw of him that he was working.
The real
And
ones. Them bits were
yeah.
probably fantastic.
Oh no, that was straight. He was smoking straight tobacco.
Right.
Or maybe straight weed. We don't know.
Pre big tobacco, like no fun, like just good cigarettes.
Yeah. I don't think he was smoking Cools and I don't think he was
Right.
smoking Lucky Strikes. I think
Yeah,
he was
no.
literally
Yeah,
rolling
definitely
cigarettes.
he did not have a parliament.
No.
I quit smoking cigarettes 6 months ago.
How's that going?
It's some bullshit. I mean,
it's still
cool.
it's still a
I
problem?
mean, yeah, I mean, my dad quit smoking cigarettes like 50 years ago. Like 40 years ago. And he sounds like me when I wake up every morning still. So I'm like, why am I quitting? I might as well just keep smoking.
The thing is, he's alive.
I smoke for my temper. I smoke for patience. I smoke to relieve stress. You know what I mean? And I've never literally done anything more in my life than smoke a cigarette. And most cigarette smokers have not done anything more in their life than smoke cigarettes. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's frustrating, man. It's like a pacifier for an adult. It calms you right the fuck down. And it's so strange how I've come to realize that there's nothing that makes it melt away like a cigarette. Like, weed don't do it. I don't do pills, none of that shit.
Right.
Weed don't do it. Alcohol doesn't do it. Nothing does it. But one hit off of a motherfucking cigarette, I swear to God, I'm like a newborn baby in a bassinet with the most incredible pacifier that's ever existed.
Wow. See, the only reason I use cigarettes is back in the day when we used to DJ and I did all that street promotions, is that like, as you know, I would literally pass out in my car at the mobile gas station in Southfield on Telegraph. Like, I would just go and go and go and go and go. And the only way to get alert fast was to smoke a cigarette and then have like a Mountain Dew, which segues to, I watched that movie, the Sugar movie last night, the Australian dude made. Dude, I'm not gonna stop. I'm literally gonna be checking everything for sugar.
No, I mean, everything that we love is fucking awful for us. You know what I mean? It's fucked up.
Dude, this dude was trying to keep it to 40 grams or 40, either it was 40 grams, I think it was 40 grams of sugar a day. And at like, he would do stuff like eat a bowl of cereal in the morning,
Right.
and it would be commercial cereal, and he would just be laughing and looking at it, be like, I guess I'm going to starve the rest of the day because there's no way I can eat any more sugar today, because it was like 30 grams of sugar.
Right. In a spoonful.
Dude, I was looking at and I eat Smoothie King all the time. I was looking at the Smoothie King that I eat that
And that's supposed to be like healthy or some shit, right?
yo, it was 90. The one that I like, unmodified, because I modify it. Unmodified is 90 grams of sugar. What I do is I take the ice cream out of it, because I don't want the ice cream. And then I take the sugar out of it because they add turbinado into it,
Right.
unprocessed sugar. And then I replace it with Greek yogurt, which doesn't have any sugar in it. And then I tell them, don't use the strawberries with the juice with the syrup in it. And that helps. But still, you have to imagine that's still got to be, 30 grams, 40 grams of sugar. And you
Right.
just, and it, that they're doing this on purpose.
It's all fucked up, man. The more, the older we get, the more you realize that just how ridiculously broken everything is. You know what I mean? How
Right.
none of these motherfuckers give a fuck about any of us. They literally don't. You know what I mean? Like, watch Milk. When you see the documentary about Milk,
Oh, the politician or
I don't know who
the
made this shit, but just about how fucking awful it is for human
drink
beings to
milk.
consume. Like,
Oh yeah,
we're the only fucking, we're the only uh whatever the fuck you call it, the only
species.
species that drinks the milk of another species. And they have all these campaigns and all these funds and advertising dollars. You know what I mean? And it's literally like one of the worst fucking things we can consume.
Dude, there's this dude at the gym who was trying to get more swole, and his process for getting swole was he was going to drink a gallon of milk a day. Yo, when I'm telling you, dude got puffy real fast.
Well, one thing you got to understand too is somebody that says that a natural selection is a motherfucker. You know what I mean? I can't wait to be not sharing air with him anymore. You know what I mean? I can't wait.
It's it won't kill him, but it definitely is not that there's some things that'll get you there. Like if you are just a steak eating dude, you know, they, it's like somebody on Facebook just said, "Hey, do me a favor, anybody that's on Facebook for the benefit of myself and Uncle Shoes, I know it already puts your name right there, but you might want to put your name at the end. And the reason why is because the interlink between Restream and Facebook is not functioning properly, and they have Facebook trying to control things. I guess I don't know,
And
but they
Facebook is the devil, and Facebook is like refined sugar and milk.
because people can't stay off of it.
Oh my
Inside
god!
that to jump back to the Picasso thing, inside the Picasso thing, there was this couple. It was a dude that seemed to be older than us. He had a shirt. First of all, I never could do the shirt with no arms on it. I can never do the Fonzie or I can't do that.
XL.
Chino XL. I can't do it. So he was rocking one of those, and he had long dreadlocks, and
Right.
not a big dreadlock dude. And then his girl was there, and she was taking pictures of things, but like they weren't even talking about the art. And like sometimes when you're looking at art, you need to stand there and just be with the art for a minute
Yeah.
and absorb what it is, because there's so much detail and so much work in it. Dude, she was trying to Instagram and take pictures of herself, not the art. And then they were arguing because I guess he didn't take the first picture right or something.
Mm.
And I was like, yo, you guys are like 40, 50 years old, and the 8-year-old little girl and her little sister are getting more from this than you are, because they're in
Right.
the moment.
Yeah.
We forget how to be in the moment, and I congratulate the parents that were there, and their kids were totally in the moment. Like if the kids wanted to, like, because there was projection on everything, on the ground, on the walls, on these large geometric or pieces, these flats, and the kids were just interacting with it. Like they were wise enough not to touch it, but like they would like put their hand on it and watch how it changed their hand, and then they would
Right.
dance and move around, and they'd look up in the ceiling and look how it was happening, whether they figured it out or not. How do we know? But Smart kids, these two little girls.
Right.
And then the adults are like, hold on, I'm doing it for the gram. Not reading any of the stuff. Like, somebody took a lot of time and spent a lot of money to print all this stuff out so you can have a context for who this guy was that did this massive volume of work. Like, the dude in 2 years did like 350 poems. Like, he was like, yeah, I'm a poet that got off track. Like, so he did all these poems, and he was always in the moment, and he was always, I guess, thinking and doing art. And he said art was his journal. And so you're walking through a living journal, and you're like ignoring it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, human beings are, to be supposedly the most complex creatures, motherfuckers are simple as fuck a lot of the times.
Are we the most complex creatures?
More often than not. I mean, self-awareness and all that. All this shit, we're supposed to be the ones. I don't know, man. I think maybe like a hamster. There might be a hamster that's smarter than one of these people. I definitely believe that.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy that features the acting talents of one of the greatest MCs of all time, Mos Def, aka Yasin Bey. It ranked, if you noticed, and in the book, of course, but it ranks intelligence on Earth, and it was like mice and then dolphins. And the mice had like a whole plot where we were just living inside of basically we were a gerarium, and we're an entity that lives in this gerarium, and they were using us to figure out the answer to the question why we exist, or why does the universe exist, which is first of all, for somebody to write that and then turn it into that entertaining and that explorative of a piece of work is brilliant. But just the idea that we're not the smartest people on Earth. And we don't consider that. We never considered that we're not the smartest guy in the room, or we're the smartest people on Earth. Or smartest things on Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, by the way, have you seen Barack Obama's exploration of the great national parks?
I have not.
It's out now, and it's him narrating and talking about all the species and the effects that the species have that are in all these national parks all over the world. And it's really, first of all, one of the reasons he was president is because he has an incredible voice for narration and a completely unique cadence. And I think people sometimes subtract that, the reason you could be president and they don't care about your ability to deal with finance, they don't care about your national clearance, they don't care if you're mentally stable, is because if you look good in a suit, you got a good voice, like a DJ. Basically, the requirements for the president of the United States are the same requirements to be a successful DJ in a major market radio station.
Oh, it's so unfortunate.
It's just, that's how we make choices. That dude looks good in a suit. Huh. That lady looks, she looks cute. She should be a senator.
Yeah,
what?
Fuck that. They asked me like 5 or 6 times over the years to DJ. You want a show on 98? You want a show on 105.9? And I was like, do I have freedom? And they're like, no. And I was like, well, fuck you then. Why are you gonna ask me if I want a radio show and I can't play the music I enjoy? That's the only reason I do this shit.
Yeah. Well, one, they have to be concerned about whether it's good or not. It's a ratings thing. But the other thing is, do what Juan Atkins, DJ Minx, Kevin Saunderson, and Derek did with WGPR, and Mojo did. Buy your airtime and then do what you want with it. As long as it doesn't completely violate their paradigm. Like, you don't go on a rock and roll station and then put on an evangelist preacher at 9 o'clock at night.
Right.
Who cares? They're there for the money. And, an FCC license was granted for a very specific purpose. FCC, even if you just Google, why is an FCC license granted? Originally, it was for the betterment of the community and education, I believe.
And now it's like a liquor license.
Right. Now it's just, I'm still trying to figure out how a liquor store is right around the corner from a community center and an elementary school.
Because community center and the elementary school do not make money.
Well, the other thing is that, once the parents have to go pick their kids back up, they need a drink.
Oh, shit. Right.
Or some cigarettes. They could be that. But it also is just kind of like a complete dismissal of, any logic or any, community welfare, thing.
I just wish
You know.
motherfuckers would be honest, man. Just stop lying. Just tell the truth. You know what I mean? You can't respect a liar, but you can always respect somebody that tells the truth, regardless of what they're talking about. As long as
Sure.
as long as you're telling me the truth, man, I have a choice to keep talking to you, or I can walk the fuck away. But if you're trying to fucking fool me, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, fuck you, man. This
Yeah.
place is it's devastating, man. How there's nothing more creepy to me than a patriot. Fuck out of here, man. What the fuck you proud of? I was I had the homie over here the other day, Eric G, the homie from the Soul Council, and he's on this like, man, there's only so many of us. He was like, he called me, he was like, we're black white dudes, man, and like, we got to be proud of it. And it's like, I've never been able to find pride in this white shit in any regard. You know what I mean? Let's just keep it real, because a lot of people that that have been very close to me have been the truest example of that shit. They're just fucking terrible people, man.
That's unfortunate and scary. I've had good experiences for the better part of my life. Overall, with a wide swath of people of various ethnic
Backgrounds, yep.
and cultural backgrounds. I feel like I've been really lucky. I've lucked up, and over and over and over again, I've met great people. I've had great life experiences. Any fallings out that I've had, we've been able to repair those and get past it. I think there's a lot of, 1% of the population ruins it for everybody else, and somehow that 1 or 2% also ends up in power. And the sad thing about people when they're in power is they influence other people and allow them
Yep.
the release to say, "Hey,
Trump gave
the reason
motherfuckers
my
an
life is
excuse to
bad."
be who they are. Trump
Right.
gave motherfuckers, they finally were like, okay, we ain't gotta hide. That's the most valuable thing about his fucking presidency, man. Is it's all out in the open now. You know what I mean? Like, he is the most accurate representation of the country, in my opinion. And
I
the
think he is,
and
because we all need an excuse.
and the divisiveness. He didn't. People keep saying this dumb shit like he stoked the flames and all that. It was already like that. He was just the one that had the balls to actually, maybe not the balls, because he's a fucking idiot, yo, and
Ouch.
a terrible businessman, a completely failed businessman, time and time again. You know what I mean?
But I think he taught somebody some lessons, because guess what? Guess who wears a suit like him now?
Who's that?
Elon Musk.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Guess who I think long term is going to try and exercise more political muscle?
Yeah, and he's
Elon
like,
Musk.
like, no offense to anybody, because everybody is so goddamn sensitive, but he seems slightly like he's off, man. Like, he could go one day. He could just give him all this power, and then he could be and like, oh shit, what happened? He could just press the button and all the Teslas blow up.
All I can say is one thing. That's a guy who wanted to sell blowtorches to people.
Well, flamethrowers, right?
Flamethrowers.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd buy one. Shit.
yeah, it's super cool, but imagine all the horrible things that could happen as a result of the average American getting a hold of a flamethrower.
Yeah. I just don't understand, because he seems to want to do these things for the betterment of the world, and then it seems like I don't know, like the internet shit, like, that's incredible, because we shouldn't have to pay for that shit. We shouldn't have to pay for fucking water. We shouldn't have to pay for electricity. We shouldn't have to pay for any of this shit, man.
Well, that was the dream when Tesla came up with electricity, is that it power and the
Right,
transmission of information would be free, and that everybody would be able to utilize it.
right.
But when business gets involved and it becomes something else, we can't just give this away for free.
Commodified immediately.
But every comic book should have taught us one thing. Seriously, every comic book teaches us one thing. Heroes create their villains, and all villains start out thinking they're doing the right thing for humanity.
Right.
Lex Luthor truly believes that Superman is dangerous, And as long as he continues to exist here on Earth, he will threaten the stability and welfare of human beings because one day Superman's going to kirk out and it's going to be too late and Batman's not going to have a plan and he's not going to have the resources and that's going to be it. What's dude's name? Baron Zemo?
I don't know that guy.
The dude from Falcon and Winter Soldier, who was
Okay.
also the guy who broke up the Avengers for a while.
Damn, you be on that shit. How many you got? How many books you got?
Man, I lost more comic books than I have. Me and my brother had Black Panther 1. We had Captain America starting at number 5 or 10.
Wow.
And they all got either thrown away or lost or moved somewhere and somebody snagged them. But Baron Zemo basically is like super powered human beings are dangerous. Like I've seen people who gain power. I don't even need to have the power I have because he basically went in the military and was living a different life, and his family was killed when the Avengers went to the fictional country.
Okay.
And he's been on a mission to get rid of powered, of powered superheroes. Like the dude, like everybody else would try, if they found the super soldier serum or the super serum, they would try and take it. This dude basically smashed it on the ground and stomped it out, and another dude, socked him, knocked him out, and then took the last vial. This, that's another one. I think that, Elon Musk thinks he's doing the right thing. He's like, this is like a town hall. Like this is where everybody comes together and it has conversations and they freely express their opinions. And then you took it away from the president, and that's not fair.
Well,
so
I'm always about opening the market up, though. That's one thing I'm glad to see that he's done because when you already got like the more choices, the better. He just seems like he just really might go fucking haywire one day.
No, he looks like a guy.
School shooter. It looks like a school shooter. It looks like a grown up school shooter. He does, yo. That's crazy.
I'm thinking in my head, and I'm like, I don't want to say it out loud because I'm going on the record. But
he looks
Elon
like
Elon Musk seems like he might kirk out on you. Like he seems like if you said the wrong thing to you, he'd be the guy. And I've done this before, and you've done this before. When you're just going off on somebody, and either text message or phone, and then after you do it, me and you are unfortunately the type of guys that if I cuss you out and I give you a long multi-paragraph description of how you diss me, and I don't feel bad about it because I'm not going to say anything to truly disrespect you or dishonor you, but I realize we can't be friends because I feel like you disrespected me that much, and I really want you to understand that. The one way to get me to stop, we can have a 1-minute conversation, and I can say that to you, and we can move on.
See, whereas what I do is I just ghost motherfuckers. If a motherfucker do some whole shit to me, I ghost them because then I never did anything wrong, and they just whenever they think of me, they'll just continually try to understand what they did wrong to fuck the whole shit up, and that's their cross to bear. You know what I mean?
I don't play games with people. I literally am going to tell you, like, dude, I would not have done this. And if you don't want to know, we don't have to have a conversation. If you don't, you know what? I'm never going to treat you differently. I'll still pick up the phone if it's business. But
if you really, really, really matter to me, and a lot of people don't really it sounds fucked up, but there's not a lot of people that really, really, really matter to me because a lot of people have shown me that I really, really, really don't matter to them. You know what I mean? So my it's really a tight circle. But if you really, really, really matter to me, I'm gonna let you know something. Trust that.
Yeah. My Achilles heel is that to some degree everybody matters to me.
Right.
I care about everybody to a degree.
Yeah, you gotta let that go because they don't matter like that.
And I mean they don't matter to the point like I'm gonna die without them. But I would rather have like if we ain't gonna talk no more, I'd rather there be some kind of understanding. And I'm gonna be honest with you. There are at least 10 people, and I probably can name them by name that I stopped talking to them.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? Like, but I stopped talking to them. If I had something of theirs, I mailed it to them. I sent them a message. But the thing is, those are people that if you yell at me or you say something threatening to me, and we get to the point of I feel like I have to punch you in the face, or I need to shoot you, or something, or I want to back over you in my car.
The only reason you would feel that way is if you literally feel threatened. And
right, exactly.
That's not likely though. You know what I mean?
Right. If you're threatening my mental or physical welfare, then I basically immediately at that point have to stop talking to you for my own mental and physical welfare. Because you basically are disrespecting me to such a degree that, like, we obviously can't ever have a civil conversation. And also, if you go left, you'll go left again on me. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
if you go left,
No, and you got to be grateful though. That's the one thing that I tell everybody is there's nothing in life to be more grateful for than fucking transparency. You could be my best friend and show me that you're the worst, and you have to find gratitude in knowing that. You have to find gratitude in knowing that because if you didn't know that, you just steady walking next to this motherfucker and he ain't shit. You know
yeah,
what I mean? So when they go
dangerous.
left, like there's nothing better than true colors. But you have to have eyes open and you cannot waste that opportunity to learn something and save a whole lot of fucking time that you're gonna waste being with a
Q,
dickhead.
Q Cindy Laufer, True Colors.
Well,
Yo, I wanted more DJs to try and come through. Everybody's not listening at all the time, and that's okay. That's their loss. But I wanted to have more DJs come through, and I gave Miss JUK a link so that people could join the
I
conversation because
tried to see, I've tried to post it. It's not like I don't know. It says I'm hosting, but when I go on my shit, like when I go on my shit on the computer, like it's not up. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's like so you got to send it to people I believe in a direct message. And then
Yeah.
here's the other thing. It's really because like I'm curious now. The world has changed since you worked at Street Corner Music, since you were at Record Time. Now you're the label. I'm not calling you Def Jam or Columbia or Sony. I'm just saying you're a label. Now there's guys and women that love music, but it's like the tangible feeling of going through a record store and digging for records doesn't exist um as a day-to-day thing on the same level. There are record stores out there. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
something people do as much.
Mm-hmm. See, that's not exactly true.
Well, volume-wise, put it this way. How many stores like Record
Mm.
Time and Buy
There's
Right still exist?
man,
At
there's so
least
many
maybe
fucking
one in every
there's
city?
so many fucking record stores in LA. There's 10 record stores in Detroit. You know what I mean? There's record stores everywhere, and arguably, devil's advocate, records are selling at the rate that they were probably selling in the mid to early 80s.
Okay.
Adele pressed a million copies of her album on vinyl, homie. 1 million copies. The plants are already fucked up. It used to take 3 months to get a record. You put your masters and your artwork in like a week or two, you get test presses, and in like 3 months, you get records. Now you get your test press in like 2 months, and it's like 9 months to a year to get records now. It's fucked. Records are selling, and the reason that is because this new generation was raised without physical media. And when they got old enough to go out into the world and like, oh, you can actually touch and hold music? Yo, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I thought it was just some mystical fucking combination of zeros and ones that was stored on my computer. You know what I mean? It's so amazing seeing kids in the record store, man. One of the funniest things that I've probably ever heard in my life in a record store. This is about 3 years. I used to work at this shop called Record Surplus out here, and it was just like 15-year-old girl and her mother. And
That's so dope.
you could tell it was like their thing. Like they went like once every couple weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm over there. I'm like putting records away. And she goes to her mom. She's like, I've always wanted to get into the Grateful Dead, but I don't want to throw my life away. And if you know about, the Grateful Dead, like the motherfuckers are all hippies and they
She's
just
like,
fucking, you know what I mean?
she literally had the whole thing mapped out here. Like, first I go buy
Yo,
the record. Then after I buy the record, I go to the concert.
yeah.
Then after I go to the concert, a couple
I'm
years later, I decide I want to travel with the Grateful Dead. Next thing you know, I'm selling acid,
right. No,
running around in a
rec- records are selling, man. Record shops are doing well. Record store day is actually, in all honesty, like a piece of shit. They started that like 10 years ago almost now. And it was initially supposed to support independent shops and independent labels,
Mm,
and the majors pushed everybody out. You know what I mean? That's why it takes so fucking long to press records now because like Warner Brothers will do a limited pressing of Fleetwood Mac for Record Store Day, but it's 75,000 copies. You know what I mean? Like fuchsia orange vinyl or some dumb shit.
I'll tell you what the colored vinyl It always fucked with me because it's hard to see the gaps.
I hate it, but it's really strange. You know what I mean? I've come to a place, I mean, I from the beginning, the goal is to get these kids as much as possible, whether it be exposure, money, placement, anything. The whole goal, I like giving kids their first record. You know what I mean? You boost the confidence, put some money in their pocket, and have them send them right on their fucking way. I'm not the
I think
finish
that's
line.
so dope. There's an area in Atlanta that has 3 record stores, and then as I travel, I always try and go find the
What's
record
that? 5
stores.
points?
In 5 Points, you got Criminal Records, you
Yep.
got Moods Music, you
Yep.
have damn it, the place that sells. They actually sell a lot of used vinyl, or they used to sell a lot of used vinyl. They're all right in one area, and then like I went to Knoxville, and there's this place that used to be a grocery store, and even the upstairs part is records. I bought, I don't know, $200-300 worth of records there. It's not like it doesn't happen anymore. It just, I guess it feels like, or maybe it's just because, as you pointed out, when you're here, like, Staten, what are you doing? Like, when are you gonna put music out? When are you gonna make some more music? When are you gonna, and that, honestly, that was a catalyst. And I've discovered a lot of cool stuff. And I noticed I'll go buy vinyl and then get the digital version so I
Right.
can manipulate it. I've also, because of Dez, found that the algorithms, and I used to experiment around with these back in the day. And I used to experiment around with electronics back in the day, and we may have talked about it years and years ago when I was living in Michigan, you were living in Michigan. I used to try and figure out ways to filter vocals out of records. But
Yeah.
now the damn AI is so, dude.
Yeah.
I
That's
was up
crazy.
until 4:00 in the morning the
Yeah.
other day experimenting with these 2 different pieces of software.
Yeah.
And
It's silly.
one of them was so good. I took the Labyrinth song with Zendaya on it,
Right.
the one where she was like, "Oh Lord, I'm tired," and I took that out, and then I found that you could take the vocals, and then the background undertones came out clean, and then the piano part came out clean. And I was just like, "This is ridiculous!" Like, you can take that, drop it into Ableton, and
Right.
literally have like your own mix of it. Like, if you're a DJ and you have the time, because it's you're not getting rich doing this, but if you had the time, you could do an hour on the radio somewhere every week just stealing acapellas and remixing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's a
Right.
different level now. You could be Jeff Mills, the wizard, so much easier right now than you could be
Oh, God.
back in 1988, 89. And people don't appreciate him. Like, I always name him as a top DJ and music influence.
Right.
And there's so many people that don't know who the wizard is. But if you go online and you listen to his
Everybody
mixes,
says Mojo, man, and Mojo was the shit. But I don't hear it. It was so equal to me. It was so half and it was
yeah,
literally. It might have been 60-40 for me actually in favor of the wizard because he would fuck it up. So like he was a technically proficient DJ.
dude, it was the
You know
use
what
of
I
his
mean?
drum machines. It was the records that he would play. See, Mojo had an incredible, like, his selection. He was funky, and he was talking for himself. Whereas Chris McClendon was doing 6 to 10. Captain Chris, who actually was another military veteran. Mojo, I believe, is a Vietnam War era veteran, and they were both on opposing radio stations. And then when you listen to Mojo, it's what he talked about. It's the fact that he'd play like obscure records like B-52s. He would play Prince. He would play, these European records that I ended up getting lucky and getting copies of. He played
Right.
Martin Disco Circus. But Jeff was playing, the Eddie Murphy rap. Then he was playing, Malcolm McLaren.
Yeah.
Then he was playing, a different freestyle record. And he was like playing all the techno records. Like, you'd hear It's Time, which is an electronica record. Then you'd hear all these different records, but you would hear them. Yeah, and you'd hear them high speed, him going back and forth. Literally, like, this is before anybody was talking about juggling beats. There was no term for what Jeff was doing. Jeff was like boom, 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 and doing it. And then when you'd see him at a party do it, you'd be like, yeah, I don't know that I'll ever be that good. Because you have to be not. And the thing is, I wondered, like, Shotgun and those guys, I've witnessed them practice for hours and hours and hours.
Right.
I know what they were doing, and they communicated with me directly and told them. The conversation with Jeff was a very brief conversation I'd have here and there, and he was so busy, and you thought he was so much older than you, and he was so dope. You're like, how did he get this good this fast?
Yeah.
Like amazing,
Right.
like hands down one of the most amazing turntablist DJs and producers in the history of music. And I don't think you can ever take anything away from Mojo. I think that subtracts nothing from Mojo. I think Mojo had almost a cult following and like an omnipresence in broadcasting,
Word up.
and was a dope DJ.
Yeah.
Like Jeff was just a different technical level of
Yeah.
human being and DJ, and he's visionary. Like
Yeah.
he's still talking about and doing stuff that you're still like, man, what are you doing, man? Like, like the stuff that he puts out, what I'm saying, is bananas.
Right.
And I still admire him to this day. But the stuff that you can do with a set of like a reloop, like where you have buttons on your turntable and you can, without having to change the pitch control, you can play music with a cue point on an actual record, or you could change it, like if it has a tone on the beginning of it, if like the ability to instantaneously loop a record, Serato and Tractor alike.
Yeah, I mean, it goes. It's just the fact that you can have doubles of everything. You know what I mean? Like, you motherfuckers ain't got doubles of everything. You can't play
No.
with. You know what I mean? And I think the two most important things about Serato is that
Instant doubles.
you immediately have doubles of every record that's in your shit, and the fact that everything don't make it on a record, man. Like everybody can talk all the shit they want, all the old heads, like, yeah, fuck Serato, da, da, da. And it's like, homie, I could play some shit that wasn't ever on a record.
Right.
Period. I mean, it's inarguable. You know what I mean? Like personal material, archive material, vault shit, just so many things that are brought into people's ears because of that. Plain and simple.
Yeah, which not only can you play stuff instantly that you make, like I could go in the studio right now, make something, run it through a mastering program, drop it into Serato, and have an instrumental and a vocal of a record that I just made and rock it. I can
Right.
literally make break beats and then take them and ride on them. And that's that. And just to be honest with you, man, like not having to carry, I think I remember you carrying at least 3 crates when you
Oh
came to
yeah.
any event. I
Absolutely.
always used to carry those huge milk crates that I would get from Quality Dairy, the 8
Right.
thin crates.
Yep.
And I came up there one time and I had like 2 of those. And I would
Right.
usually, if I had a DJ at a whole party, I would have 4 of those plus an R&B crate that
Right.
had 45s in it. So
Yep.
like, the ability not to have to, and no disrespect to anybody that plays in sets, the ability to not play in a set and be at a party and be like, I think I'm gonna play this.
I've
And be
never
able to
played a
play it.
set. I've never played a set. I've never in my life done that. I never have. I might have prepared it, but I never played it. It's always been like, just get the first 2 or 3 records and then see what the fuck happens. Like,
I don't think you can win with a set. I don't think you can win the same way with a set.
well, it's like a routine. You know what I mean? It's kind
Yeah,
of like,
yeah.
like last night I went to a DJ at Largo, and me and my lady were there, and there was this comedian, and it was it was just it was like she pressed play on her set, and it wasn't funny, it wasn't it was like sterile because she wasn't taking into account anything that was going on. It just seemed like she wanted to get it done.
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes you got 5 minutes. When you're doing comedy, you got 5 minutes.
Well, no, she had an hour and a half. It was her.
Oh, well, see,
But
yeah,
she
that was
does
her.
this show
Yeah, that was
monthly
her
at this
show.
spot, and it was like, whoa, shit.
Wow.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
I think that anything has to be to some degree improvisational. I know there's a fear or an interesting conversation happening now around, now everybody can smack anybody in the face if you're, a comedian. Because, you start working the room and you
Try
start
it.
making fun of somebody
Try it.
and,
It's the next time it happens, it's not going to be the same thing that happens afterwards.
no.
And people need to give Chris Rock a lot more credit in this situation for not fucking him up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, Chris is he's got a lot of Brooklyn in him. And it could have come out.
Will
And,
Smith Will Smith needs to he needs to open the drawer and reattach his fucking penis. That's the fuck he needs to do.
yeah, I'm not gonna speak to his
Well,
personal life, but
he
that was
needs
a
to
horrible
ask
decision.
he needs to ask Jada if he could please have his penis back. You know what I mean? That shit is ridiculous, man. That shit is ridiculous. And it's like, masculinity is not a fucking bad thing. You know what I mean? And there's toxic femininity in this world all the way up to the same exact levels of toxic masculinity. You know what I mean? But there's something to be said about he laughed at the fucking joke and you know what I mean? Like if Will Smith would have done the things that Jada Pinkett has done, he would have been erased from history. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air would not even be on television anymore. You know what I mean? So this overcorrection of things needs to be addressed also. You know what I mean? If we're gonna have true equality in the world.
But nobody wants true equality, Shoes. If you make a TV show and there are if you make something and there's any given number of different people in it, people are going to say for their specific group of people there's not enough this or that.
Right.
If you have a certain group of people in a TV show or whatever, everybody is not going to be happy with the way they're represented.
I mean,
Um
what about the swimmer? You know what I mean? The Chappelle joke came true. You know what I mean? Like, what if LeBron got a sex change? Would he join the WNBA and score 600 points a night, or would he have? You know what I mean? Like the swimmer, the transgender swimmer.
it's
You know, you would
it's
ranked 463rd as a man, but ranked number one as a woman. Like it's sketchy, man. Like we're treading on thin ice, dangerous waters.
you were playing a different game. We're literally playing. We're playing a different game, and the question becomes this: human beings are getting to that point where they can make decisions about how they exist in the universe and how they're perceived and existing in the universe. So, it's one of those weird things where you start to question everything. I mean, for me, I know I start to question everything. I know when I you know to think about sports and transgender and stuff like that. I don't want you not to be able to compete in sports. And I haven't done the research, and this hasn't been going long enough for me. It hasn't been a thing long enough for me to say, hey, this is a scientific fact about how this works. It
Well,
doesn't
I
work.
mean, it's definitely a scientific fact that men are. I mean, it's whatever. You want to burn my
Yeah.
house down? Burn my house down. Men
No,
are
don't do
built.
that. There's a lot of high vinyl in there, man. You just slow down. Oh, don't do it.
Men are built differently than women are. Men are physically built athletically superiorly than a woman is.
Is
It's just it's
superiorly a word?
I
I'm
just
just
made
kidding.
I just made it up. You know what I mean? But like
All words
serious
are made up, so there's no problem. Um,
that shit that fucking when Dave Chappelle said that shit, it's inarguable. Like, are you kidding me? Like
people will argue about
if
anything.
LeBron James got a sex change, can he play in the WNBA? Would they allow him to play in the WNBA if he said, I'm a woman tomorrow and got a sex change? Would he be allowed to? And even beyond that, would that be right? Would that be fair? Would that be fair? I don't know. I
I
don't
don't,
know,
I,
yo.
I don't know because I don't know because I mean, do you physiologically change that much that you like he's gonna lose all of his muscle mass or part of his like what's gonna happen? Like where does it level out? Where is it fair? And I wonder.
He's gonna
I'm
score 600
curious.
points a night.
Nobody says this, but and I don't know that anybody said it without any type of pushback.
Like,
Has anybody ever asked female athletes how they feel about it? They're the ones
exactly.
competing. I'm
Exactly.
curious. I'm curious not to have an
That's
opinion and
that's
to
what
ask them
matters.
how do they feel about it. Are you okay with this? Like,
Right.
are you okay with you know somebody being a power lifter
Well,
and
the girls that swim with this girl are not okay with it. Like they've spoken out about, hell no. Like this motherfucker was the worst swimmer against men, but he's whooping all our asses.
they're not okay?
He was
Uh,
literally ranked like 363rd in the state or the nation. and then he changed his gender and he's number one.
Wow. And you know me, I'm paranoid. So I'm like, did you do that on purpose? Like without an actual identity crisis? Or did you just
Right.
do it? Did you just do it to win like the movie Joanna Man?
And do they check? Like, is it proof? Is it, you know what I mean? Are you just tucking? Like, is
Well, I mean, I think it was a violation. At one time, I believe it was a German or a Russian athlete that they didn't believe that uh that she was a woman or was a CIS woman, like born a woman. And then they checked again because they believed that her testosterone and hormone levels were drastically higher and that maybe she was using performance enhancing drugs. And then after doing that, they also did a physical check to see if her physiology
right,
was
okay,
CIS, and that was considered, and this was a few years ago, that was considered a violation of
right,
her personal space, her personal rights, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If this goes the way that people are arguing, I don't know that there's not going to be a huge back and forth about what's right and what's wrong in terms of once a person identifies a certain direction, is it okay or is it not okay to investigate, and to what degree is it okay to investigate, and is it a violation?
right,
Like once a person makes a decision to do something and they identify a certain way, I'm just identifying this way, and since I identify this way, it has to be okay for me to participate in both professional and intramural activities that match the gender that I choose to identify as. And I don't know long term what the long term effects of that will be.
right,
Meaning, there's so many sports where where not we, but where human beings are modifying their hormone and genetic makeup, or their physiological makeup, so they can compete more effectively. I'm interested to see how this also affects that, because steroids are not allowed competitively
right.
in any sport, I believe,
In
and unless it's
in either gender,
in either gender. So
right,
the question becomes, if you are either subtracting or adding testosterone, or taking any drugs that now manage your hormones and your ability to build muscle and or perform a certain way, are you doing the same thing that bodybuilder X is doing? Like
that's
it
what I'm
becomes
saying,
I don't know if they're having these discussions, and I don't know where these discussions are going.
right,
It's really, I think it could get really, really interesting from a legal perspective and from
yeah,
a social perspective and moral perspective, how much we can regulate who a human being uh decides they want to be. And I have actually written stuff about that, and have actually been afraid to tell a story where I interpret this as something that can or cannot happen,
right,
and not to get into my story and then have somebody else be like, well, Jason's lazy, I can write this script in 2 weeks, I can sell it, and then he'll be broke and I'll be the one with the idea, and he will have nothing to prove it except for a conversation that he was having on Facebook with house shoes, and nobody cares. But I wrote something about that, and it was several years ago in terms of the treatment, and the whole thing for me was, for real, like, for real, if human beings can decide who and what they want to be, is that okay? And
I
you know
mean,
what I'm saying? And if it's okay, if it's not okay, who are the people that are saying it's not okay, and why? Because once it
I
gets into
mean,
competition, it becomes a totally different thing, because then you may or may not have an
man, but
advantage.
science is a motherfucker though, man. Like science is a motherfucker.
Like if you could look 20 years younger and get ripped with a single injection, and then you go out and some girl is into you, and don't kill me, Miss House Shoes, and she meets you on the street and she doesn't realize you're on this genetic therapy, but then honestly, you're 40 years older than her, and let's say she falls in love with you and has a kid, and then you're like, yeah, I look like this, but I've only got 2 years left to live, and I'm out of here. Like, is she gonna be like, I'm suing you because you basically presented yourself as one thing and then it's something
Nah,
else?
hell no. Because if that's the case, every chick on Instagram is getting sued for filters.
I
Because a
let
fil-
you.
because a
I hate to say that I walked you right into the.
because a filter is a fucking lie, man. That's all it is. It's cool. A filter's a lie. Man,
Is a
have we
filter what you get for being
filter's a lie, man.
is it what you get for being shallow? Is that the penance that you pay? Like when like I've seen people use extensive filters right in front of me. Meaning
Why
me and
do you
Heidi may be sitting out at a restaurant and I've seen somebody and I know what they're doing. You're
No,
not
but
cropping.
the devastating thing is they're using filters because they feel that the filter makes them look better than they actually look in real life.
Right. In other
And
words,
that's
they feel
where
that's what's good.
that shit is devastating. Like, you don't need that shit. You don't need, just like my fucking Twitch don't need a border. Like, you don't need the bells and the whistles. Be who the fuck you are, man. You don't, and they're doing this for strangers. Their friends know what they look like, so they're not doing this for anybody they know. They're trying to make themselves as attractive as possible to a whole bunch of people that they will never meet in their motherfucking life. And that is so fucking devastating, man. And
And
that's what
they don't have an intention to.
that's what it is. That's what the ecosystem is now. It's people performing for strangers. It's like Hollywood Boulevard. It's like, hey, yo, you listen to hip hop? Yo, man, you listen to hip hop? That's what people are on fucking Instagram. You know what I mean? You know, you listen to hip hop. Hey, man, can I kick this rap for you? But it's what they're just trying. Oh, it's disgusting.
They just
Man.
want the attention. But
Yeah.
how many people playing devil's advocate, how many people already were doing that? Like, how many times did you watch Maury Povich and the show was, I didn't realize I was married to a man? How many times did you watch Maury Povich and people were like, I liked him a year ago because he wasn't chubby?
And isn't
You know,
that the? I mean, how fucked up is that? That like motherfuckers really used to like look forward to watching that shit every day. Why do we like watching train wrecks? That shit now when I watch it, it's like, Jesus Christ, I wasted so many hours of my life watching this dumbass shit. Like,
it's and honestly, it's disturbing because what it does is it lets you know that within 5 or 6 decisions and a little bit of wasting time, you can become a really, really twisted up human being
well,
with a lot of
no, what
bad,
the fucked up thing is, like, it's on purpose. Low hanging fruit has a purpose. Low hanging fruit is that you just take what's given to you and you never reach for anything beyond that. You know what I mean? And it keeps you a very basic. You're not using it all. They don't want you to think, man. They don't
no,
want you to use your
it's
shit.
sugar. It's
You're
sugar.
fucking. They want you to be pliable. They want you to be a ball of clay. And what better way to keep your mind a fucking ball of clay than watching that dumbass shit every day for an hour? You know what I mean?
I often wonder.
If you watching that shit every day, you're probably not reading the book. You probably don't read books.
No, most people don't. Like like everybody keeps posting pictures of Dan Charnas' book, the Dilla book, and I wonder how many of those people are actually reading that book.
Not all of them. I guarantee you that. I read that shit in 2 days. It took me 2 days to read it. It's 450 pages long. I can
And
read that thing.
well, the other question is, what did you do those 2 days other than read that book? I'm
Not
curious,
a,
and I'm curious
not,
not to degrade you in any way, but I'm curious how much focus it takes to process a book that fast.
oh, you can't do anything else. No. When I was in 6th grade, I read it in 2 days. It is like 1150.
Yeah,
Like Stephen King's It. I read
yeah.
that shit in 2 days when I was in like I grew up. I love Stephen King books, and that shit came out. It was like a record came out. You know what I mean? I was like,
The
whoop.
other thing about the other thing about Stephen King is the sheer volume of work that Stephen King has produced is mind blowing.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
girl that loved Tom, whatever his name is, the one that she got lost in the forest, and the only thing keeping her from being afraid was that she was listening to the radio and listening to the baseball thing. Like
right.
like it's amazing when somebody has that level of talent, and then you often wonder what does it take to develop that talent.
Right.
Like you have to
Well,
focus.
not even necessarily to develop, but to maintain it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man, that's a whole nother. See,
because
those are two
everybody
different
falls off.
discussions.
Like everybody falls off.
What is it with hip hop? Why do people in hip hop fall? Because I guess you get out of. I don't think it's age. I think
No, I think
I
it's
think it's
definitely
your
it's
mental.
it's age related. It's motherfuckers trying to, it's relevance. Motherfuckers want to be relevant to the times, and you can't be an old motherfucker doing young shit. You know what I mean? Like,
But hip hop isn't young shit. I think hip hop is
But
like
like
jazz.
Master Ace and Ed OG are still fucking fantastic 30 years later because they never strayed. They kept their eye on the fucking sparrow. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
never made a dumbass record. Like
Ace
literally,
is dope. Ace is dope.
man.
And you
Ace and
said I
Ed
think
OG,
Method
bro.
Man, we were talking about Method Man, he continues to
Yo,
get better.
Method Man, like yeah, we was talking about it, man. Like he's rapping better now than he was 30 years ago. And that's no shots. Like he was great 30 years ago, but he's like that motherfucker's in his prime right now, in my opinion.
Man, remember, he's always been business, meaning not business like this is just business. He's always been about being good at what he does. He's always been about being good in terms of creating a craft and being on a constant path of improving in that craft, whatever that craft might be. He
Right.
doesn't I think my opinion of him is he never takes himself so seriously that it becomes obtrusive to other people, which some people do. You
Right.
become so into yourself that stand back. I'm so and so. He's never
Yeah.
been that guy. He's always been about creativity and about getting better at his craft. And he's always been smart and he's always been articulate. And I think there's a few people that are like that. I think Rakim in a super low key way has always been about intellect and
Right.
knowledge and about being great at what he does.
Right.
Even though I think that like sometimes like when he's performed with certain other DJs and certain other people, it's actually diminished the Rakim in the moment. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, what you don't like him rocking with Jeff?
no disrespect to Jeff or Kid Capri because they are idols of
I mean,
mine.
I've never seen Rakim with like if he had a standard DJ, it was always him just rocking. So, but I have not seen him with Jeff either. But
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it. I
It
just,
seems to me I'd take that over him just up there rocking joints.
yeah, I think it depends on how it's presented. Like I would never diss Capri or Jeff, and I wonder how it changes the context of a Rakim performance because one thing you don't ever want, you don't need a hype man. I saw a hype man with Rakim once, a dude
Mm,
who was like didn't know that he needs to leave the stage.
right.
I've also seen somebody who's tried to cut up with Rakim and tried to
Right.
be tried to DJ him, and that doesn't work out. I think that if anything, an MC you have to respond to the to what the MC is doing. I think if you're a DJ, KRS, I've seen KRS basically control the DJ as an MC. Play this.
Yeah.
Stop that.
Right.
Play this.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Break this down. Bring that back.
That's how it should be.
And I think it has to be like that. I think sometimes people who are the drummer don't know to stay in the pocket. Like a good friend of ours, Pernell Suber, Finesse, Jazilla,
Word up.
is a pocket drummer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he always, like if he's drumming, he's a metronome, he's in the pocket, he's not overshadowing other people.
Right. He's
not showboating. That's a skill set in and of itself to just be in the pocket and to accent what's going on. I think when you're a DJ, sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes, you're a programmer. Mars is a great programmer. He knows very well what the structure for a party. And it's not a playlist. It's like in his head, this is where I'm going next. This is what I'm going to do next. And then I'm going to take it here. That's a tough thing for people to be. And I don't think everybody knows that. I don't think a lot of guys who are turntablists and women who are turntablists know that. Like, it's not about your routine. It's about rocking a party. Your routine can be dope, and that skill set that you use inside your routine can help rock a party, but your routine cannot be the party.
Word.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's, and I fear that if somebody else is a star and they're with Rakim, do they know how to fall into the pocket with Rakim?
Right.
And did they put the time in for both from this perspective? Did they both put the time in to get in sync? Because I
think they definitely had to have done some rehearsals, but come on, bro, it's Jeff. I think Jeff is gonna pay definitely. He's probably, if there's gonna be any DJ, who else would you rather play with Rakim than Jazzy Jeff?
I would watch Jazzy Jeff do anything.
Yeah.
Not except,
That's the first motherfucker.
I don't need to see him
First time
outside of the DJ.
First time I ever saw anybody on digital DVS, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think what it was before Scratch Live. I forgot whatever the first shit. I think it was Scratch Live. Jazzy Jeff of the Magic Stick in Detroit. And it's wild enough just seeing the shit for the first time, period. Seeing a motherfucker with a laptop and 2 records and playing anything. Like, imagine just seeing the homie, the casual music lover homie with that. Like, now watch this. But imagine seeing that shit
With the guy that broke out
with
transforming.
Jazzy.
With the guy that
but whooping motherfucking ass, like vetted already, like beating the shit out of it. Like, what? What the fuck is this, man? It's his computer. What's going on right now?
Yeah,
I-
he's by far one of the most talented DJs I've ever heard or seen. And everybody emulated, much like Jeff Mills. Jeff Towns is somebody everybody has emulated. Everybody wanted to do that jazzy or jazzy or jazzy. Everybody wanted to do that. Everybody wanted to do the 122 breakdown rhythm tracks. Everybody wanted to do that. So he's incredibly emulated. And to be honest with you, over the years we've seen less and less innovation in a turntablism world. And Jeff did so much in such a short period of time. He was a quantum leap forward from the jam. It was, what was it? Grandmaster Flash, Jam Master Jay, Jazzy Jeff. Would you say Jazzy Jeff to the Pete Rocks of the world in terms of East Coast hip hop? The Pete Rocks, the Kevy Kevs, and then later on the Rock Raiders. It was a constant evolution. And now we have an electronic revolution, like the stuff that Juan Atkins and them went and sought out in terms of drum machines and keyboards and making totally different sounds and synthesizers and changing the game with electronic music and drum machines. Like, honestly, the way that the evolution of the 808 and the 909 to the SB12 to the the Lindrum and then the MPC, like that changed. Every time those machines changed, hip hop changed. But this is an individual who changed the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? With just how he did things. And then we all watched him. I remember I don't know if you remember doing this. We used to record the DMC highlights off of MTV. And then we'd imitate the highlights on VHS. And if you had the right VHS player, you could slow it down.
Oh, wow.
And I remember I remember watching, I got a cousin by marriage, and he used to be able to do the DJ Run scratch.
Okay.
And I had nowhere near the practice he did. And I remember this dude wanted to be an MC, and he wanted to have this dude be his DJ. Then he came back because I had started, assembling beats. But he could do that run.
Right.
Every, you know what I'm saying? So he had coordinated. He was one of the first dudes I knew that really had syncopated crossfader use. But I practiced so much, and then I changed my needles. Then I learned more about equalization. Right. Then I learned more about what records were good to cut here, to cut there. And then honestly, after, I think a team helps you get ahead further. But if you're not functioning as a team, the frustration with not having a team can push you forward as well.
Absolutely.
Sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And I think that pushed me forward more than anything else. That and just a sheer, I can be an angry DJ dude. I can be an angry competitor. And I try to avoid that because it just opens up doors into further and further dark spaces that you don't need to go.
Right.
But I think, I think, a great DJ is great and makes an MC greater and vice versa. And have you seen practice sessions with Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince?
Nah.
They were in I don't know what it was, but they met in a warehouse space. And they were working out a routine, and it's like they hadn't even really begun to work yet, but they were so dope together, and Jeff was so good at responding to him. And honestly, I'm gonna say this because I interviewed, I had an interesting interview, and then all of this stuff that's been happening with Will Smith recently. that interview not having come out and the questions I asked and how we responded to them and some of the stuff that I probed into that was very uncomfortable. And I just instantly basically got the phone and started interviewing Jeff. I still think to this day that Will is still one of the doper MCs to come out of his era, especially as a real MC, like a party rocker, like able to respond to a
No, he
DJ,
can tell
quick off the top
stories,
of
all
his
that
head,
shit. Yeah.
storytelling. Like he's incredibly talented. And then
Yeah,
I
man.
think that, I think people forget that about him because he made, the Wild Wild West and because, he made these theme songs to these movies that we hated. And
No, man, them first 2
Yeah.
albums were fucking incredible, man.
dude, storytelling ability, use of his voice, all of that.
I couldn't believe that I didn't see like he's the DJ, I'm the slapper meme where someone just changed the cover. I was like, man, y'all dropped the ball on that shit.
Somebody skipped. The needle skipped on that one. Somebody
Right.
should have seen that and something should have happened. Yeah. You should have made it. What were you doing?
I ain't got time for that shit.
Oh yeah, this guy. Like, yeah, I'm surprised somebody didn't put that out. That would have been genius.
That's something to, hey.
That's for the meme community.
Yeah, I don't make
I make
memes,
records. He's like, I make records. I don't make memes. Dude, it's still I just feel bad. You have a lot invested in the time that you put in the Black community and other communities. I really just I don't know how to it's just it's a lot to process with that, and it's so back and forth in your head that that you wish it didn't happen. It's like watching Closer, if you've ever seen that movie.
Which one was
with
that?
Jude Law, what's his name? I can tell you who's it. Jude Law. What's her name? Oh God, I'm gonna name everybody.
What was it about? I might have seen it.
It was about 4 people who it was written by this guy named Patrick Marber. It's about 4 people who have like a relationship and love and affairs with different people inside that triangle.
Right.
And how they interact as human beings. First of all, it makes you feel horrible about human relationships in a lot of ways. Because human beings are so superficial and so deceptive.
Yeah.
That it just makes you feel a certain kind of way about that. And then it was intensive. Yeah, Natalie Portman, Julia Roberts, and then Clive Owen were all in it. And the interesting thing about it, dude, is that I think they're the only 4 speaking parts. It really inspired me as somebody who really enjoys writing, because it was literally just these 4 people interacting, and it was so tense.
Right.
And when they made the movie, it was directed by the same guy who directed The Graduate.
Oh wow.
So it's this incredible story and in this incredible storytelling, and it's all super intense and super smart and super fast, and you really just end up like kind of feeling like, damn, like what's wrong with people? Like why did they do that? Yeah, Miss J UK put the summary in the chat for anybody, but it's a worthwhile watch. It's based on a play. It's just bugged out. You know what I'm saying? Like it's bugged out how good it is. This is, there are movies like that. I think movies are the ultimate culmination of multiple art forms.
Man, I watched The Fucking Professional the other day for the first time in a long time. That's definitely in my top 5.
Yeah, and Natalie Portman, even as a child actor in that movie, is just
crazy, and it was super creepy. It was a lot of creepy shit in that movie. The way they walk that line so crazy, because like there's like a version with like 5 or 6 more minutes, and they walk that motherfucker even closer. You know what I mean,
dude? Let me tell you something. My favorite part of that movie is your boy when he said, "Bring me everyone." Like super calm. He's like, "Bring me everyone," and he's like, "What do you mean by everyone?" He's like, "I want you to bring me everyone." And you're
man,
just like,
look, Gary Oldman, Jesus Christ, in that movie. I mean, but then you think about, but wait, and then that movie, and then that movie, and then like he's he's not mentioned in the top circle as much as he should be. He's
Gary Oldman is a incredible, brilliant actor that has an incredible amount of range. Remember, he played the dude in The Fifth Element, the villain in The Fifth Element with the Southern accent. And then he was the villain in the Denzel Washington movie, Book of Eli.
Oh, yep.
Which the idea was he wanted the Bible, not for any like fungible, reason. Like he didn't want to sell it to somebody or reprint it.
Right.
He wanted to use it because that was the system of control that worked the best. Yep. What are you saying to me? And these are two brothers from Detroit.
Right.
And I think people forget that. They made that movie, and the statement that movie made about the system that we live in is incredible. And then I think the statement that they made in the other movie that they did was incredible, which was the Jack the Ripper movie.
I didn't see that one.
You didn't see the Jack the Ripper movie with Johnny?
So it's
yeah. Oh, dude, like really a good movie. It's I think it's is it From Hell, Miss JUK? It just the idea that these that these high society people have these secret organizations and unwittingly are protecting this dude. And when they find out that the dude is doing this, basically the dude is like, I'm the future, like killing these people and using them and fooling you. This is the future. This is how everything's gonna go down. And I'm not evil. He's like, and none of you can judge me. I'm beyond you, both in intellect and in my desire to hunt other human beings. And this is what's going down. Like he was ahead of his time, so to speak. Like you're gonna live in a future where there's serial killers everywhere.
Right.
And everything is gonna be a puzzle. And you're going to expend way more energy than this. And then that kind of the weird intellectual connection that him and Johnny Depp had is Johnny Depp was like he was kind of like a Sherlock Holmes prototype, but he was the actual cop. Like he was brilliant, but he had like bad problems. Like you're not gonna make it problems. You know what I mean? So
right.
It's just those guys, man. Their work, I think they're super underrated. Those are two dudes I'd love to, if I had a way, if anybody knows them and I had a way to like talk to them, even one at a time, the two brothers. Like I'd love to talk to them about those movies because I think that they are incredibly underrated. I thought the Book of Eli was dope. Just the idea was dope. The execution to me was dope. I mean, theirs was I believe theirs was Menace to Society was theirs. And those gems that came out. It was Menace to Society, Boys in the Hood, Colors. There's several movies that came out in succession that were about the LA gang culture, and I think their movie was one of the most. It was more intense, well structured.
Boys in the Hood didn't age that well to me at all.
Dude, Menace is. I mean, dude,
Menace
come on, man.
Bananas. It's still exactly what it was the first time you saw it. Boys in the Hood. For me, not so much.
Rocket, as a like this, the idea of this stone cold dude, and and we don't realize who Rocket was. Do you know who played Rocket in Menace? Do you know who that is? I mean, sorry, in Colors. Like Rocket was in Colors. Do you know who Rocket was?
See, I wasn't big on Colors like that because when I saw Colors, I was kind of like, like I wasn't. I was like, this shit is whack. Like they made it. It's a buddy cop movie. That's how I felt, and I was young as fuck. I was like, man, fuck that movie, man. I ain't got time for that. I did fuck with the soundtrack. Super tough though. I fucked with that soundtrack. I used to ride my bike listening to that shit. Absolutely.
Okay, so nobody answered the question because for whatever reason Don Cheadle was Rocket.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Don Cheadle was Rocket, and then the white dude who was in the gang was the dude who played Malachi from Children of the Corn.
Children of the Corn? Wow.
Yeah. He was the white gangster dude.
Malachi.
I don't know what happened to that guy. Like, I'm like, a lot of times I'm like, what happened to Malachi? Like, where is
That's
he at?
crazy.
Like, who was that? And
I
then
was I was scared of gingers for a minute after seeing Children of the Corn, man.
that's
And
horrible.
he reminded me of the bad kid in Christmas Story too.
Oh, yeah, the kid that was like that got his
The
tongue stuck out a pole.
the terrorists. No, the bad kid that was like terrorizing them on
Yeah,
the
the
way to
one the
school every day.
bully.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
it was
he
his
got
boy
bullied,
that
didn't
got his
he?
tongue stuck on the toe. The bully
Yeah,
didn't get his tongue stuck on the toe.
right.
His boy got his tongue stuck on the toe, and the teacher had to come out there and yank him off, and he was
Yep.
walking around with an actual bandage on his tongue.
Hell
That movie
yeah.
was man. That movie. That if you're gonna make a movie, to me, if I'm gonna ever make a movie, I want it to be something like that. Like even though it's
Yeah.
a period piece, it's
That
still
shit's so good, man.
classic. Like
Oh man.
how many people in the United States of America has part of their Christmas tradition watch that movie?
I mean, how many movies do you know where one day a year they play them for 24 hours on a TV station?
I'm trying to think
Like
of
like
something.
name another movie.
Right. I'm trying to think of anything else that's a marathon, and the only other things I can think of that are marathons are the Star Wars
It
trilogy,
would be multiple
Indiana
movies.
Jones. It's like
Multiple. Yeah.
it's got to be like a trilogy. It's got to be it's not one single movie,
That shit
dude.
goes from the
Every
end credits to the opening credits.
every joke, the leg lamp.
Oh my God,
The
Frat
fact that
G
they
leg.
never cussed, dude. They never cussed, but they
Yep,
had, they were, his dad was in the basement messing with and that's supposed to be in Michigan.
yep, absolutely.
You know what I mean? And those schools in Michigan are, I hope they don't become a rarity. Those are some of
Right,
the most beautiful schools. The high school I went to in Lansing is one of the most beautiful schools ever. Had an atrium. It had a actual, the back of one of the biology rooms is a greenhouse, dude.
wow,
Like it has real, like a real old school lecture like laboratories. All
right,
the laboratories for science classes were lecture hall, meaning it had stairs going up and then you had tiers so that everybody could see the board clearly
right,
and could
right.
respond directly to the teacher, and some of them were curved. That's, there's a there was an art and there was a desire to create educational institutions that forward the thinking of America when those schools were built
Yep.
on a certain level.
Yeah, they cared a little bit more than they do now. a little,
Yeah, I
a
mean,
little bit.
yeah, I mean, high schools now are lame compared to
Right,
those schools. Just the materials that went into them. There was in my high school they had these tiles, and the tiles had little drawings painted on them, like two wrestlers
right,
or a Greek god face or like science implementations, and they were in areas of the school where that stuff was happening. Like in the place where I took electronics. I took actually before I took electronics, I took electricity, drafting, and woodwork, and they were all in the same area, and all of those rooms were specifically built for what you were doing.
right.
But that, of course, you know what that was about. That was about we need an educated workforce.
Yeah, man.
But
Fucking
now we don't have a workforce or education.
yeah, man.
You know,
Burn them books, man. God forbid somebody read something.
don't read. Listen, you only need 60 words to get you through a news story. Is how people are basically presenting things
Yeah,
now.
that shit,
You,
man. It's so basic. It's so basic. I'm like, the credibility is gone from most places. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like to say that you're a a provider of news, and but still, like the number one goal is to figure out how few words and how digestible you can make it, so the more people can consume it. Like that shit is fucked, man. World
yeah.
is fucked. It's fucked.
I mean, there's always a style guide and a way to write the news, but I think that was, I think the other side of that is editorialization. Like there are too many people in news that are trying to insert their opinion in the news or someone else's. I think that's so dangerous. I think,
Well, and what's
you know,
dangerous is the fact that they're not calling it editorials anymore.
right. It's this is news. Like, no, it's not news.
Right,
It's not news because if it was news, it would just be the facts.
right.
And you know what I'm saying? And
And
I don't
science
need you
is
to tell
real.
me.
Science is real, yo. It's
Right.
crazy. Science is real. Yeah, it's crazy. Science. Yeah. Let's
Yeah,
go science. I'm all team science right here.
I don't understand. I'm interested to see how in terms of what you're doing. I'm very interested to see how this so-called fuel crisis and oil crisis, because it's vinyl is technically a petroleum product.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see,
Uh,
is it more plastic now? Is it more of a chemical mix now?
nah, it's same shit, man. I'm not hearing of any higher higher rates in regards to expenses. You know what I mean? That's not something that would happen probably instantaneously in that market because a lot of these plants have reserves. I would say, you know what I mean. They're probably not buying a bunch of vinyl every day.
Right, and then I'm guessing that they have whole, canisters of
Right.
the little beads
Yep.
or whatever it is that they use. And I know there's, the resurgence. It's just amazing, dude. I'm glad to see vinyl coming back. I'm sad that it's expensive, and it's really just good to get back to
Well, I mean,
going to
I'm
the record
sad that
store.
eggs are expensive. I'm sad that milk is $7 a gallon in some places. Gas is, I seen gas for $7.50 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's records are expensive, but fucking everything's
Yeah.
expensive.
Everything's getting more
I
expensive,
mean,
and
think
it's
about how much
all
a gallon of milk was when we were kids. It was like $2. You know what I mean? And now a gallon of milk is easily 3 times that.
right.
So when we were
And
growing
everybody
up,
drinks almond milk.
but when we were growing up, a record was like 8, $9.
An
Now it's like,
album was $8 or $9.
and
A
now it's like
12-inch was $4.99 or
$4. Yep,
$3.99,
yep,
and a 45 was a couple of dollars.
yep, yep.
And if you bought like vinyl in the right place or was on sale, it was even cheaper. Or if you bought a used one, because a lot of DJs, especially like growing up around Michigan, Detroit, a lot of DJs would would basically get like 4 copies of something, and you could get a white label of something. You know what I mean? You could get a test pressing and figure out what it was. And how many times, the scary thing is how many times you probably pressed over a test pressing and didn't have a way to play it in the record store, and it was like a gem. And
Right.
you just passed right by it. But guys like you to work in a record store end up with them, so it's all good. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what it is. I remember
Absolutely.
there's no shortage of times when you or Mike would basically, like, oh, that's going behind the counter.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. Goddamn.
that I'm buying that. That's coming home with me.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of felt for a while like, record stores were disappearing, or at least the record stores I was used to going to, which is where it was a lot more. I don't know if I could say it was a lot better curated,
Yeah.
but right, like you said, a lot of stuff is being pressed up on and repressed up on vinyl now.
Yeah.
I went in the record store the other day when I bought those Amerigo, whatchamacallit records, the Yassine Bey records. Did I share that with you? Did you end up
Mm,
checking that out?
yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yep.
The Marvin Gaye, Yassine Bey
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
dope. I found it on vinyl. Then because I found it on vinyl, I got the digital copy, and then I was like, it's called The Return. So where's the departure? And there actually was a departure record, so I copped that too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, digging is still there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
the artwork, I guess, isn't really, where it is. And I feel like maybe there's less, but, I don't feel a way about that, if that
Right.
makes any sense. Like, I guess maybe it feels like that because of the time, or maybe the vibe of the store has changed. Do you know what I'm saying? Or maybe it's just the sheer volume that I used to experience in record stores has changed across the board.
Well, I mean, I was working up in record stores up until 3 years ago consistently. So, in all honesty, it's never really changed.
There's no less record stores. There's
There
no
was a
less.
there was a moment where I'd say that maybe 20% tapped out. Uh, but yeah, man, this shit is fucking like when I was a kid, man. I mean, there's new record stores popping up all the time out here.
I saw one pop up just before the pandemic, and it never opened, and I was sad. I wanted to really go in there and dig around. It was a really interesting concept, and it looked cool. It's nothing like a record store that looks cool. There's two types of record stores that are dope. One that really looks cool, and it looks like, that guy listens to Wax. That guy, that's a guy that goes home and wipes off his records, and puts his records gently on the plank and then puts his thing on there and sits down and listens. And then there's a record store where it's like your room. Like there's just records. And the dude is cool. He might smell like he just went outside and smoked when he comes in.
Oh, yeah,
he's like, yeah, man, what do you like? You like such and such? Oh, you bought that? Well, if you bought that, here, let me show you something. Like, that's who you and Mike were. Like, oh, if you bought that, you might want to pick this up and take it with you. Like, trust me, you should grab this. Like,
absolutely.
The biggest thing that I miss about the record store is the curator. But I'm going to be honest with you. The greatest thing that ever was invented is Shazam. I think
one of the big differences now too, though, is like everyone feels like they know fucking everything. So people don't ask for help, or they kind of like act like bitches if you offer help. You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous. Like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, motherfucker, fuck you. Go ahead and go ahead. Let's see what the stack looks like when you get to the counter.
Like, okay, I'm not gonna help you. Like, if somebody gives me some advice on a record, their advice is not bad to me until they sell me a bunch of bullshit.
First thing I tell a motherfucker if they come up to me in the record store and ask, what's good, the first question I ask them is, what's your budget? Because I'm gonna take the whole thing. You know what I mean? You want to go crazy right now? We can go crazy. Like, what? You got $50? You got $100? You got $200? You got $30? Let me know, because that's the one thing I need to know. And I ask them, like, what's the last 3 records that you bought? You know what I mean?
Now, following up, are you a Shazam user?
Absolutely. Not often. I mean, I've probably used it less than 50 times in my life, but I use it.
No, I'm a Shazam user. Like, if I go listen to one of your sets, Shazam. If I'm in an art gallery and something's playing, Shazam. Right. Like if I'm at NPR, I suggested to NPR that they basically get all of their board operators to take their bumper music and save all of it, and then put a playlist out on a week-to-week basis. Fire. And then have that playlist written up as a blog, because I think that would be a powerful tool both for them, and I think it could make them money. I don't know if they listened or didn't listen, but I think they could begin to curate music just because they have so many people, and the only expression that a board operator or engineer may have is when they play that little bumper music in between. And how smooth they are on the console. That's so fire. I like, honestly, like, NPR when Terry Gross goes off and they got like a cool, jazz song, and then I hear the break, or I Shazam it and I think it has a cool melody, and then I get the whole thing and I hear it and I'm like, oh snap, I just found a break. Like, it's you know what I mean? Like that that is amazing. Like, honestly, I couldn't remember with the I think I shared Can with you too. Did you get that?
No, I had that. Yeah.
Yeah, Can is, dude. I couldn't find that digitally, and when I found that, like that Hey You, that Vitamin C record, dude, those dudes, like, just the thought of them, like, yeah, we're this experimental group that has a theater that we live in Berlin, and it's 1960, and we're running around, and there's this American dude that's out of his mind, and he sings all of our lyrics, and they were that tight. Like, I don't know who that drummer was, but that dude, like, every single song, and all of them are up, like half of them, more than half of them, 2/3 of them are like up tempo tracks. Like, he's on some Mitch Mitchum shit.
Man, that shit's so good, man.
Like, it just, I'll take that in the gym and just be working out. Like, it's an amazing record. And there's so much out there that's like that you just missed.
Right.
Or can't remember where you heard it from, or can't find it. I found Liaisons Dangerous digitally. That was a revelation that day. Like, I don't have to have that on vinyl, but if I have the digital of it and can take it with me and can play that shit. Right. And honestly, the sad thing about the electronic music crowd in a lot of instances is they don't get it. Like, you can play a Liaisons Dangerous or an electronic record from like 1988, and it doesn't make them groove like people grooved back in 1987, 88.
Yeah, but sometimes fuck them. I mean, great DJs clear dance floors, man.
No, it's a fact. I've literally cleared dance floors, and it's funny thing is when you clear them and then they come back.
Yeah,
that's the best part, is when you can clear it and you don't come back. You don't bring them back by playing something that they know. They basically concede to be there for the party. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's
I
you
just
know.
never. I just
Yeah, I know you didn't care. I remember I've seen you play records and literally everybody is just walking around and you don't care. You're like, this is a great record and you're going to listen to it. And when I'm done playing this, if I play something that you like, cool. And if you don't like it, so
Yeah. I mean, what? Where are you going? You could leave.
you can leave. You paid $10 so you could come in here and leave.
I'm playing the shit. Sorry, like
Yeah.
I'm not. Yeah, man.
People didn't know what to do with Shook Ones when it came out. People didn't
Oh,
know what to do with
I knew what
Wu-Tang
the
when it
fuck
came
to
out.
do. You handed me that record and I played it immediately. I
But
knew
you
what the
saw,
fuck.
but you saw be like it. I remember a few weeks later, people rocked to it. But at first, people like that. Just the sound of it, people were like, it was like an alien was landing in the building, like just looking around like weirdos. Some people immediately were like that snare. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? That doom, the bass line, they
Yep.
got it. But
Yep.
other people like were like, and I was just like, yeah, this will be fine. Wu-Tang.
Yep.
I remember people wanted to kill me because I gave Wu-Tang records. Like people were threatened by Onyx. Why are they yelling? It's like you don't get mad when Run DMC yells.
Right.
Why are you getting mad at these dudes?
Right.
It sounded so aggressive and angry. It's hip hop. That's what's supposed to
Man,
happen.
that shit was so fucking amazing. I remember the
Yeah.
first time I heard "Protect Your Neck," man. I bought the cassette single from Warehouse Records on Woodward and 13 Mile.
Oh boy.
I used to work. That's the first record store I ever worked at, and Lamont Hayes was the manager.
Lamont Hayes was managing I didn't see. I don't
Watch this
remember.
though. Watch this. Lamont Hayes and Drew Reeves were the managers.
Seriously.
Yep.
Wow. I didn't know they were the managers.
1993.
I did not know they were maybe I did. Because I literally had to take that record to every single store. You know what I mean? Like it literally was like a challenge. Like I remember talking to Mook and like saying, I gotta have CD singles and cassettes and send me some extra ones. And the extra ones were the ones that I sent to Steve, I sent to Neil Levine, I sent to Evan Forrester.
Right.
Those are the ones that I actually sent out to people. And the funny thing is that people sat around with them and didn't listen to them forever. Like literally, like I sent people copies of records and they didn't listen to them, forever.
Right.
Like there's people now that tell me, oh, I listened to the MF1911 record that you sent me, 10 years ago, and they actually were pretty dope. Like I didn't get it back then. You know what I'm saying? Like, actually I didn't get it. People now that I know for a fact we're not Ultramagnetic fans that are now Ultramagnetic fans.
Right.
Cool Keith was a hard pill swallow, dude. The dude was talking about abstract science and throwing terms at you.
Your dogs drink my piss. Talking a lot of crazy shit.
Yeah, you're like, what? Like, what? What do you like? What do you? What?
Did you give me that Ultra record?
Which one?
The industry is whack.
That was that was the one that was on.
It was super indie. It was a black sleeve and it was just a black label with white writing. Ultra.
I think so. The other record I know I gave you, I think because it was a favor to them. I helped out with their Next Plateau release. I'm sorry, Next Plateau. Their Wild Pitch release.
Wild Pitch. Yep.
Yeah, and I thought that was a Wild Pitch release, but it was just not on a test. It was not on a normal test pressing.
Right.
I thought that was part of that project. The baseball song.
Yep.
And
that Four Horsemen.
Yeah, and then
Wasn't
after
that, the name of the album?
Yeah, I believe it was the Four Horsemen. And then after that, that's when Keith started thinking independent.
Yeah, and goofy.
And then said, and then said G released that thing with dude from the Breakbeat label. He released the Ultramagnetics bootlegs and B-sides. It was like 1980, 1980 something to 1994. And there was a lot of different stuff on there. But rap has gone through so much of a great evolution over the years, and it just I loved hearing it evolve, and I'm interested to see how it evolves next. I just, don't think it's going where people think that it's going. Like right now, everything did really turn into, and you saw it coming if you were living down here. It's kind of a ringtone and a hook type situation, and it's simplified itself down to the point that any
Well,
person.
man, I'll tell you, man. Like ever since I discovered it, and definitely since I've been involved, there's always been more than enough shit for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's more than enough shit for everybody. It's just, you know, the money and the priority is the dumb shit. And it's the same as it's always been. They just don't want a motherfucker to think about nothing.
Yeah, well, you got people want the simplest path. People often look for the easiest path to whatever they want to get. If somebody wants to, if you want to get somewhere in a city and you ride a bike, you need an app. And I don't know if anybody's created this, like an app that tells you how not to get on any hills. Like
Oh,
literally, like if you did that, like it would revolutionize the bike community. But because people always look for the path of least resistance.
right, right, right.
And the path of least resistance is simpler
Yep,
and it's less thought. And Rakim's not simple. Public Enemy is not simple. Run DMC was technically not simple
right.
because it was, musically complex. I mean, dude, I mean, those are some of the best sounding records made in the history of hip hop, period.
That's what
Like
got me in. You know what I mean?
just you can't put on Rockbox and not do this. You can't. You did nobody ever listened to the Hollis Crew freestyle and didn't kind of dance a little bit
Right,
and then just say that's some clever shit like it, and they were rocking it. And you want more MCs that could just go to a party for an hour and do that, and that just doesn't happen anymore. And I think that's unfortunate, but that's people party different now. They need hookahs and they want to take an Instagram picture and they want to sit back down and have their drink, and that's partying. When
yeah.
we were DJing early on, partying was the girl would literally take their shoes off and put them in their purse or put them by their purse and put them behind. I remember behind the DJ booth, there would be a pile
Yep,
this high of just coats and purses
yep.
and shoes.
And shoes, yep.
And people would, like you'd be like, hold on, man, don't come over here. And they'd be like, no, 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 no. Like it's like this is mine. Like I'll show you. Like this is, like this is me and my girl stuff. Like that, people, you were a coat check dude. Like people would just like, I know my stuff is safe over here. Let me just put my stuff over here. And people would literally sweat their hair out at a party. Like a girl would get her hair done and go to like that high school football game and then come to a party and ruin it. Like I saw girls ruin dresses, sweating dresses out. I saw dudes, getting mad because they scuffed their shoes up because they were dancing and somebody else stepped on their shoes. Like
Mm,
people would get dressed up, go to the party, but they were there to party.
right.
And I don't know that you can make that. I don't know how you make that happen again. I think maybe the whole psychology has
Well,
changed.
I mean, it still exists. There's people that are devoted to that and that carry themselves that way, but just the average motherfucker now, the average motherfucker just, it was not about you. It was about you going somewhere and having a good time and losing yourself, not trying to go to a party and figure out which corner has the best light for your fucking selfie, you fucking piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Is the electronic music world the only place where you see people party,
No, it's
or is that
everywhere,
also
bro.
is
It's
that
everywhere.
also posed? Because I feel
Bro,
like
it's
the shuffle
man,
dancing thing is a look. Watch me shuffle dance, and
the
then
fucking at the grocery store you see it.
I can't I just think people party differently now, and I just think that it's a sad thing that they don't grab on to other records. Like I think somehow over time it's devolved and people don't go to parties to hear good music and they don't go to party to hang out and meet people and they don't go to parties to really let loose.
Right.
They're
I think just the def people, how the way that people grasp existing is just different. You
yeah,
know what I
I'm not
mean?
do all of us the question becomes this. Do people know why they're here?
I don't think so, man.
Like I'm not sure I know why I'm here, but I'm pretty sure that the average person that is just enjoying life and experiencing things isn't here and saying to themselves, I'm here to experience this. I'm here to enjoy this. I'm here to be in the moment. Or if I'm not in the moment, I'm in some moment, or I'm headed for something. Like, I'm not mad at somebody that's so involved in the things that they do, one thing to the next, that they're constantly texting and writing and taking pictures. You know what I mean? Not taking pictures of yourself, but like, I'm absorbing everything
Right.
at the fastest rate possible because I feel like there's so much that I have to do, which was one of the quotes I loved from Picasso. Like, I feel like I have less and less time and more to do. And
Right.
I feel like that every day. And I know, it drives my girlfriend crazy. It drives my mom crazy. It's times probably when you talk to me on the phone that I'm not listening to you, but you know that I'm listening to the voices in my head and I just saw something and I'm thinking of the questions I need to ask. I was like, before I let House Shoes off the phone, I need to ask about this record. I need to see if I get this done, does he want to put it out? I need to see if, what he's looking to put out. I need to ask him a question about this distribution thing. Like, it's all that going on. But for most people, it's not that. Like, they're literally just, what's the next thing in my timeline?
Right.
Or I'm here. What would be the best place for me to take a picture? Like, where would I look the best right here? Is there enough light? Like, well, is there enough light for my filter to work? Like you said, filters are the biggest, like, the
I'm
biggest.
just so fucking grateful we grew up without it, bro. I'm probably not more grateful for anything in my life. But the fact that we did not grow up like that, because
Hey,
everything is broken now. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't. Everything is performative. Like, who gives a fuck about? It's all about how you present yourself and perceived reality and how you want to make yourself look to strangers. And it's like, that's the most whole ass shit that I've ever heard about in my existence. I'm 47 years old. I've been here a long time.
and it's still,
I ain't never given a fuck about a stranger. I don't give a fuck about people I know. I mean, how they feel about me. I'm me.
I mean,
I'm
even then, like, even even when we were in our 20s, you're like, somebody is like, I'm losing my hair, and why do you care? Like, I got on, like, oh, you saw a stain on my shoes, and you care why? Like, why are you paying attention to what I'm doing? Like, why are why do you care about anything except what I'm playing and how it has a physiological or emotional effect to you?
right.
That's pretty much how I remember you always being. And
Yep.
I remember, I think with Dez, it was always, how am I pushing myself? You know what I'm saying? Like, can they, do people fuck with this or do people fuck with that? Like,
Right.
you know, with, other people, I think it was different. I think some people did want to be famous for partying. I think some people did want to be on stage.
Right.
And
Oh, a
the,
lot of
the,
people. But
the,
they were
the,
so far removed from it that it still never made sense why they were up there.
the true DJing thing is, I think you have an idea in a moment and you're curious whether or not the crowd's going to respond to that. And if they do respond to it, what's the next thing that you can do? It's kind of like, did you see the movie, the Prestige?
Yeah.
And the dude, when he killed dude and he was dying at the end, and he said, you never understood. And he's like, it's about the look on their faces. It's
Right.
about making the audience literally be like, how the fuck did he do that? Like, how did he do that? And be surprised and be happy that they're surprised
Right.
and to enjoy it further. And then next day they're gonna go to work and be like, man, I went to this magic show and this dude beamed himself from on stage up all the way to the top of the auditorium, and I have no idea how he did it. And for him, the value of that was so important that he literally was willing to kill himself over and over again and
Yeah.
pay an undisclosed ridiculous amount of money to Nikola Tesla to help him invent a way to do it.
Right.
Like, that's like, because you just like, how bad is that that you have a compound memory of dying over and over again, and you actually probably go to sleep at night and say, do I still have a soul? Or did I lose it 5 people in, or did I
Right.
lose it 10 people in? And you know is this right what I'm doing? And you know what I'm saying? Like, is it, like none of that was calculated. What was calculated, or it was calculated and he still did it, or it wasn't calculated because he was so focused on just making an impression on his audience and giving them something that we all as human beings seek, which is amazement and curiosity and, being astounded and being impressed with the world that surrounds us and having questions. Like, I don't know if we want mysteries anymore. How many of us go to Wikipedia and look up the end of a movie before we finish watching it?
Oh my
Like,
God.
how many of us, look at books, go to the bookstore and look at the end of the book? Like,
Jesus
how many of
Christ.
us look for cliff notes? Like, how many of us, use the internet to do our research at this point in time? Like, we don't consume information, and then we don't have friends that consume information. Because as your friend, if you read the Dilla book, it should encourage me to read the Dilla book, because I can't have a conversation with you until I take the same journey. So by being surrounded by people who do the same things and have the same questions, I then have those questions. But if I don't do that, if I don't read, if I'm not interested, if I figure out a way to cheat myself around it, who am I? You know what I'm saying? Who am I going to become? That's, and I wonder, is that the case now? Like, I wonder if people read books like they used to. I wonder if people are buying records because it looks good to have records, or because they really want a
Right.
record. Are they going to go home? When you press a record up, do people go home, listen to it?
Well, it don't matter as long as they buy it. To get the bitches out of here. You know what I mean? You hope
You like,
you just gotta hope for the best though. I think that's honestly the key to all this shit is you have to hope, like regardless of all the shit that I talk and I might seem like like the world is spoiled. You always have to maintain hope. You got to hope for the best. Regardless of the fact that there's a lot of shitty people, there's a lot of really good fucking people out there. And there is balance to all this because the people that care, they really fucking care. So it offsets a lot of the bullshit. You know what I mean?
that's interesting. As we've been talking, and I had that question for you about records. I was literally like fascinated. Like, I was like, how much of polyvinyl chloride goes in a record, and then how much so how much is the industrial salt, the chlorine from industrial salt, and how much of the carbon is there, and why is the carbon there? Because they were saying records by nature would be clear if it wasn't for the carbon additive, and then the carbon additive actually changes the sound quality of the record. Like, it's just, vinyl is way more than just a way to consume music. Like, it's a whole technology, it's a whole science that gets altered by its very chemical makeup, its physical makeup, and you never I don't know that any of us read about that. And the funny thing is, now that's not information we could have found easily 25 years ago, but now within a click and a couple words,
Poof.
you can, boom.
It's right
And
there.
what are we doing? We're looking at girls in tight clothes,
And the more
cats.
more information is available to human beings than it's ever been. And these motherfuckers are dumber than they ever been, man. Dumber than they ever been. Dead scrolling on social media and like zombie shit, man. Like it's terrifying.
Yeah, doom scrolling is.
When you go to the fucking airport, next time you go to the airport, or if you're at like a restaurant, like just look up and look. It's a fucking horror movie. You know what I mean?
It's no, the airport is a scary, scary, scary place. Like, I was there, and this is like during COVID, and we were traveling, and this lady and her kids, didn't have masks on, but the two kids and the mom, well, one of the kids and the mom had a horrible cough,
Oh,
and they came and they sat right next to us, and I had my laptop out and like my mini controller out, and I literally like put it away and
yeah,
like moved to the whole other side.
yeah.
And then I saw I saw the kid like walk by and like look like, huh, I wonder like why he moved. I'm like, cause you're, super sick
Infected,
and
motherfucker.
you're
Yeah,
right on top of me. And then you're like making crazy noises and you're moving around and you're trying to sit right next to me. Like, you're kicking the chair and I'm obviously focused and reading and working on something. And you're kicking the shit out of the chair and then banging, but you're not like 5 years old.
right.
You're a
You're like,
preteen.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, you're a walking behavioral problem. And then the other thing is, me, I'm anti Crocs. So immediately, if I'm next to somebody who's like rocking Crocs, I'm immediately like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, run for the hills.
I know they're the most comfortable shoes on the planet, supposedly.
I don't know that. I'll never know that.
I've heard that those are the most comfortable shoes on the planet, and I'd rather be a little less comfortable. I'd rather not explore that. Just like I heard pinstripes were back in. I hate pinstripes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't dress like a record. I play records. I don't do that. I don't do that. Like it's, it just, some stuff drives me a little crazy. And like you said, the airport is where you see all of it, and it's all right in your face.
Yeah.
And somehow, whatever it is that you don't like will end up next to you. Like if you hate something, it will have the same flight that you have, and then all the people will come to your flight, and that one person that you don't want to be around, that has every attribute that drives you crazy, is going to sit directly across from you until you have to get on the plane, and then you'll be praying that they don't end up getting on the plane. You know what I'm saying? Like, please don't let this person sit next to me. Please don't put them next to me. And then they'll be like across the aisle from you, and you'll be like, oh. And everything I thought about them was true. Not only are they irritating and they're a fucking dick, their breath smells, and you can smell it all the way across the aisle.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And they got their Crocs on. Oh, wait, now they're going to take their Crocs off and sit here with their shoes off. Thanks. Disgusting, dude. Nah, man, my buddy went to China. We flew to China one time, and there's a guy, and he took his shoes off. And, so you got 3 seats. He sat next to the dude, meaning my friend sitting here, there's a seat here, and then the guy was here. The guy could have been on the outside and left the space in between it, but he sat right next to him. When he sat right next to him, he did that, and he did move so that when the plane began to taxi, he rolled forward, rolled like this, laid his head towards the aisle, and then put his feet right next to my friend. Dude, the look on his face, like, if you'd like a horror movie look, like I just saw Jason, like he was literally like turned around and looked at us, and I was like, you're trapped for 8 hours. We're going to China. I mean, excuse me, we're going back to the United States from China. You have at least 8 to 12 hours of this guy, unless he get, because he probably is going all the way to our destination. So he's gonna be on the hop. Dude, it was awful, dude. Worst experience ever. I could, you want to laugh at him? I couldn't laugh, dude. It's because it was just like this dude, this dude had been traveling for like a whole nother day. So he smelled like airplane man.
Ooh.
Plus 24. Man, I appreciate you for coming. We always have a good conversation. We got to do it again.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, man.
I hope people were watching on your channel and tuned in. I hope you get some good feedback from it. It's always good because, we don't just talk about music. We talk about ideas.
Word up.
Social problems and weirdness, because the music that we deal with actually reflects everything that's going on around and affects everything that's going on around. And if you don't have conversations outside of that, how can you make great music? I always say, if you're going to be a rapper, if you don't read, you're going to be the worst rapper in the history of rapping. Like
heads rappers.
It's the modern rapper. Like I just remember the Lil Wayne quote, I don't read. Rich people don't read. I was in shock. Like
I wasn't in shock. I wasn't shocked at all, man.
It's one thing to do something bad, Shoes. It's something else to tell other people or encourage other
some people are proud to be fucking idiots, man. Let them be proud. Fuck it.
Jesus, it's like breaking into the Capitol.
Oh, stop. We can't go there. Look, on that note,
I'm going to film myself breaking in, and then I'm going to text people and tell them I was breaking in. And then, you know what? I'm taking something with me after I get out.
Well, at least they pled guilty. Fuck it.
And some of them are going to try and get out of it. But, I'm not saying what it is or what it was. I'm just saying if you break into something and you record yourself breaking into something, something is wrong with you. Yeah. What are you doing? Yo, we got to do this. You available next month? You're going to be in the country, out of the country?
Yeah. Let's do it once a month. Is dope.
Don't
Absolutely.
forget to to tell people to do your thing when I watch your Twitch. You know,
Say it
I
again.
just see if you know what I'm talking about. I said, don't forget to do your thing when I watch you on Twitch.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
Where you're like engagement.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I'd be like, fuck that. I mean, it's better when I'm not talking. I'm a DJ. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm there to play records. So I found that you get the best, you get the best for your buck if I just play records and don't worry about what people deem to be so important.
It's true.
And
You got any
music is what matters for me at the end of the day, you know.
Miss JUK? It is what matters. Miss JUK, please put up a link to Street Corner Music. House Shoes has just released 3 new records. I bought 2 of them, I think.
Oh, it's all kinds of records. It's more coming soon. You know what I mean? Stay tuned.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that that I'm supporting them and that I'm playing them. I know
Yes.
I bought the vinyl, the most recent ones, but I gotta get the digital download so I can drop them as well. You know, because it's just, I hate to say it, I hate to be lazy, and I don't think it is lazy. It's just easier to manipulate music when
No,
it's in a digital
100%, bro.
format.
And why? If I mean, what's the problem? Like, if you have it on your computer, I mean, and you can play it on Serato at the crib, keep the record safe. Like, you ain't always got to keep it real. Records do degrade over time.
Right. As opposed to, a file on a hard drive. I mean, your Serato gets a little confused every once in a while. You got to clean up the hard drive, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. You might have 15 copies of the same record that you see in your window, but who cares?
Right.
It's better than having 15 records in a crate and
Right.
carrying them upstairs for, and then, them falling over. I remember a buddy of mine dropped an entire crate of records down the stairway, boy.
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
there's pros and cons to everything, and nothing is necessarily right or wrong. People do what they enjoy. So, I mean, yeah, we ain't got to always argue about shit. Just let people do what the fuck they do. You know what I mean?
Yes, there it is. So, yo, thank you. I'll catch you later, man. Be safe. Have an incredible Sunday and a
My
happy
brother.
Easter.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, tell everybody I said hello
No
and I wish
doubt.
them the best. And we'll talk soon. I'll be
We'll
giving you
do
a
it.
call soon.
All right, y'all. Be good.
All right, everybody, stay safe.
Peace, peace.
Peace.